Hi everyone, welcome to Planning Outlook. This updated on Tuesday the 15th of December. Now there's good and bad news in this summary. The bad news first really is the next few days are wet, wild and mild, with southwesterly winds dominating, some spells of heavy rain coming through. Chillier air returns by the time we get to the weekend, and most indications then in the run up to Christmas and perhaps even a bit further onwards than that are that colder conditions are very much in the forecast, so more wintry weather returning to the mountains. Now, let's start off with a snapshot at the chart into the weekend, and by that point we're back into a chilly westerly flow coming in off the south of Greenland and out of Canada originally, and that bringing freezing levels lower and some snow and some hail showers into western mountains in particular. So that's where we're going. Let's see how we get there. This is the freezing level chart for the days ahead, and as we go into the start of Wednesday, some chilly air is still in existence across Scotland. We've got freezing levels down even below 800-900 metres for a time as some precipitation moves northwards, but generally those temperatures will lift as milder air comes up from the south during the day, so that through into Wednesday afternoon and evening likely to be above zero even on the highest tops. Those temperatures will lower a little bit overnight into Thursday and leave a freezing level around 1100-1200 metres across the Highlands through Thursday daytime. That will lift again as we go onwards into Friday as the next push of fronts comes up from the south and southwest, and this is probably the mildest air for the time being, with temperatures going well above freezing up to the very highest tops through Friday, and some heavy rain will be around with that as well. As we get through into Saturday, though, those temperatures will come down again as cooler air comes back around off the North Atlantic, and that will lower freezing levels towards 1,000 metres. Increasingly so into Sunday, we might find that freezing levels get nearer to 800 metres in western Scotland and more widely down towards 900 or 1,000 metres elsewhere. So it puts the top of the Lake District and the Snowdon Mountains at or just below freezing. These are your charts for the next few days. Then this is Wednesday's situation with an active little area of low pressure swinging northwards across Britain, that producing widespread severe gale force winds across the mountains with gusts 80-90 miles per hour or more perhaps on the highest tops at times. The worst of the winds easing down from Wales but will continue across the Highlands onwards into the afternoon. Quite a tangle of fronts sweeping through as well. Now, areas of rain preceded by some snow across the Scottish mountains in the morning will tend to break up a little bit, but eastern regions, maybe the southeast of the Highlands, might struggle to get rid of residual rain, and some showers will come in to the west coast wrapped around the centre of the low. So a rather unsettled day, but locally in Scotland there'll be a few drier spots try to develop. The wave of a front coming up across England and Wales will produce some prolonged heavy falls of rain, that just tending to clear across Wales as time goes on, but all making things very wet underfoot and some localised flooding likely to develop. That system clears through as we go into Thursday. A bit of a gap in the weather systems at this point. Still looking like a windy day, maybe a bit of a lull for a time, but still rather blustery across most higher tops, especially towards the north of Scotland. The next weather system is quickly moving in and winds will strengthen back to gale force later on anyway. Still a few showers around, most of those focused across some western mountains in Scotland, fading out for a time, but that next batch of rain is knocking on the door later on. Into Friday and various pulses of energy coming up from the southwest, with fronts setting in for some heavy falls of rain, focusing across Wales, likely to be into the Lake District and Pennines too, and that pushing into the southwest of Scotland as well. The further north you go across Scotland, better chance you've got of drier weather for longer, but some rain coming through at times. Maybe a bit of snow initially on the highest tops, but that milder air associated with the warm sector does pile northwards to take things generally mild for all as we go through Friday. Again, a windy day is likely, the threat of strengthening widely to severe gales across the mountains once again. Likely to stay windy into the weekend. We get that cold front to go eastwards, so although the wind is southwesterly, we are into cooler conditions by this time. A chillier, showery air mass coming in off the North Atlantic then, so expect some heavy bursts with some rain, some hail and some snow on the higher mountains, chiefly in Scotland through Saturday, and all that precipitation most frequent around western regions. Best of any cloud breaks and brightness the further east and northeast that you go. And those cool west by southwesterlies continue into Sunday. Again, generally showery, something a bit more organised maybe at times into western mountains. Some snow and some hail coming down a bit lower by this stage as temperatures do just tend to fall, with again the best of the drier, brighter conditions the further towards the east. So we've still got low pressure on the scene really as we go through the weekend into early next week. One area centred towards our northwest, that's the one dragging in the cooler conditions off the North Atlantic. The next complication then lurks over the mid-Atlantic, and that one is really going to give the forecasting models a bit of a runaround as we go into next week, because how that develops will really dictate the pattern as we just go towards Christmas. It may well be that that low stays further south and we stay under a fairly cool air mass. That chillier air dominating across the northern half of Britain. There may be a bit of a push of some milder air trying to come in at times across the south as that low spins through, with the risk of some further heavy rainfall associated with that low and the threat of gales as well for some. Whether it tracks just to the south of Britain like this or tracks a bit further north is really anybody's guess at this stage. Most indications though favour Scotland at least staying under the chillier air, so the scope for some upland snowfalls at times. And as we just roll on towards the Christmas period, this is in the middle of next week, just a further few areas of low pressure may skirt towards the south, but the general trend is that northern Britain at least is being fed by air that's coming around further from the north. So chillier conditions very much more likely as we head through the middle of the week. Higher pressure starting to build toward the west, which is important to stop any further milder weather systems trying to get at us from the Atlantic. We can't be clever yet and get an absolute day-by-day forecast through the Christmas period, but the trends for that week as a whole up until the 28th of December are showing themselves something like this, with lower pressure focused to the east of us, higher pressure building a bit more out to the west and the northwest, so building that story of cutting off the Atlantic winds and dragging things around from chillier northerly directions, so we're putting things back into freezing conditions across the mountains for a more sustained period, and the scope for some snow and hail, at times falling and even lying to lower slopes. We'll see how that detail develops with time. Frost overnight becomes more common as well, and if that high to the west does move in a bit further, then maybe just crisp, clearer conditions getting into the forecast, something a bit quieter if higher pressure starts to encroach in. As ever, we shall see how all that develops and keep you right up to date here in the NWIS forecast. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.